Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. The legislature's out, political season's in, and the new administration is off to a rousing start. And we are here to talk about it with the foremost statesman in the state of Missouri, a former senator, former governor, Kit Bond. Welcome back to This Week in Missouri
Thanks,
Politics.
Scott. Thanks so much for all the flattering talk. I appreciate that.
We are always honored when you're here. This is a particularly interesting time. You've served at every high office of state the state has to offer. You know Mike Parson well. Can you tell the state, from your perspective, a little bit about their new governor?
Well, I think people are going to be very pleased with our new governor. He's a man who was a farmer, started a small business, served in the Army as an MP, then he was elected sheriff of Polk County. He went on to be elected to the legislature and then to lieutenant governor. And he's ideally suited this job. He had the right instincts from the beginning. He's reaching out across the aisle. He's working. He's listening to people. I heard from a friend who attended a fundraiser with Senator McCaskill, who said that she was very impressed because Governor Parson invited Senators McCaskill and Blunt to come to meet with him together to hear his priorities and discuss with him what's going on in Washington. Now that is what I consider to be a very good start.
Well, it is. I think he's got a lot of praise for the first few weeks in office, but it's got to be amazing. I mean, you come elected to the office at a young age. He came in a unique situation for a governor to take office. You're one of the few people that know what it's like to walk in that room and have that responsibility foisted on you. Kind of give us a thought of what goes through what happens once you walk in that room and they say, "Congratulations, Governor."
Well, it's a very, very significant moment. I had been state auditor and I'd audited the governor's office, so I thought I knew a little bit about it. But until you walk in, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Fortunately, I had set up, before I went in, I had my Adjutant General, Charlie Kiefner. I was at swearing-in ceremonies at 9 o'clock that night. They had a crisis in northwest Missouri. They were out of water, and they needed the State Emergency Management Agency to get on it. So, and here, Parsons already has a team in place. He said he's going to keep them. But I would imagine that after you work together, you may find some people who have different ideas, or you may want to make some changes. But he comes in to a group of people who he said he wants to keep. And I think that that's a good idea. Keep them and then discuss with them his views. And if there are disagreements on the views, then replace them.
Seemed very gracious, seems statesmanlike to offer to work with those folks who, you know, they've been appointed and been confirmed by the Senate. And I think he may have a unique respect for that as he was a senator. He has got a lot of praise for a couple of staff hires. Aaron Willard is his chief of staff, well known in Republican circles, very well respected.
Very good.
Robert Nodell, going to be in his senior staff. Hard to find a more respected person throughout Missouri politics than Robert Nodell. It seems like he's putting together a team that reflects him.
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. The times I've met with him during the campaign, I was a strong supporter of his, and I met with him, and he and Teresa are just they're very approachable. They are friendly and thoughtful, and I would say wise is one thing I believe would describe Mike Parson. He's a very wise political office holder. He comes in a very unusual circumstance.
Indeed.
That doesn't happen very often, but he has the people there, and I think he's got a good core team to work with him in the governor's office. And as in anything, you'll find that after you work a little while, you may make some changes. And I'm sure he'll want to make some changes, but I don't think there's any doubt that he will work very closely with the legislature.
Let's talk about some issues that they need to face together. In your mind, you've led this state, you've represented in Washington as a U.S. Senator. What's the biggest issue facing our state right now?
Well, I'd say number one, I mentioned to you before we went on the air, they finally got the grid reliability bill through, and thanks to Todd Richardson and Ron Richard, they did a good job as usual. And my power had gone out a couple of times this spring, and until your power goes out, you don't appreciate reliability. That's settled. The big problem I've worked with for the time I've been in state office and federal office is transportation. Missouri has a very low gas tax, 17 cents. I have supported increasing the funding for roads because roads are a lifeblood. We are really the crossroads of the United States. East, west, north, south, they all come together. And when you look at a map of the traffic on the major highways, I guess National Highways has a map that has red lines that get broader the more traffic you have on it. And when you get to where I-70, I-44, I-65, 55 all come together, it looks like a heart attack right in the middle. It's a great big red ball. And for those of us who've driven I-70, we know that a wreck on I-70 makes it into the world's longest parking lot.
It paralyzes the state.
And it comes to a halt. So it's not fun to talk about it. And you know, I tried to bring federal dollars here. I'm successful in that, but that's just a pittance because it needs to be the broad-based support. And it's going to be up to the legislature, the governor, and probably the people of Missouri to decide.
Sure.
Do you want to increase sales tax? Do you want to increase gasoline tax with the new electric cars? You may want to, there may be some other means of assuring that they carry their burden. But
coming from the Republican side of the aisle, there may not be another show like this that's more down on taxes than this one. However, if you want things, you have to pay for them.
yeah, that's it.
No one's going to give them to you.
Yeah, yeah. And back down in your part of the world, we got Highway 60, I guess, across the state.
And 67 that would not be there without you. Yeah. Let's talk a little politics for a second.
Sure.
You know a little something about getting elected to the U.S. Senate in the state of Missouri.
Yeah.
How's that race going, and how is Attorney General Hawley doing?
Well, interestingly, I had a call from Josh Hawley this morning, and he told me something that I hadn't seen in the media anywhere else. I said, I mentioned it on the show. He said, sure. He's got a 100-stop tour traveling around the state, visiting with working families, rural, urban, small communities. And he's been in the four corners of the state, and I think going to Southwest next. But he's going in and talking with the people and hearing what's on their minds. And I said, you know, that's where I got my wisdom, from listening to people. I said, what are they talking about? Number one, they want the tax relief for middle-class families. It's very important. Number two, they are concerned about immigration. I said, really? You know, we have some immigrants in Missouri.
Sure.
They're very helpful, and they said, but people want strong borders. They want support for border enforcement, and they also want to ensure that the DACA kids can stay here, and that you can get seasonal workers.
It's a complicated adult issue, isn't it?
It is. I worked on all kinds of solutions, but
immigration is not something you can sum up in a tweet.
Well, and that's the problem is the Senator Schumer has refused to. Yeah. I mean, the president has offered to take care of the Dreamers, the DACA folks, and he wants to make that his issue. And I don't know where he stands on it, because what Hawley has laid out, which I think makes sense for Republicans, is, yeah, strengthen the borders, make sure we don't have more illegals crossing, bringing drugs, but people who are criminals, and giving sanctuaries to the violent, illegal immigrants who've committed crimes. It makes no sense.
It's an interesting thing. Probably no statewide elected official in the history of Missouri has been tried by fire more in his first 18 months on the job than Josh Hawley.
Oh,
He's gained a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
I like to say, as I have been told several times in my career when things didn't go well, experience is what you get when you expected to get something else. And I don't know what Hawley expected to get, but he's gotten.
My experience here is we were going to ask you to put on your thinking cap. The last thing, got to talk a little Cardinals since we have you here.
I'd be delighted to put on my thinking cap.
How is the team looking? What's our chances this year?
Well, I tell you, we.
As Claiborne says, it's not May Day yet, or not Flag Day, but it's getting close.
It is, and it's. We had a real blow when we found Alex Reyes was not going to be able to be there this year, and we had 2 very unfortunate games against the Marlins. Not a good team. They came in and they plucked us like a bunch of chickens. And, it just, the pitching, my gosh, pitching wasn't there. We weren't getting timely hitting with too many errors. We've got the talent. And I
think so too.
And one of the things, if Greg Holland would come back and be able to pitch like he did at the first of last year, that'll put us in the playoffs.
Let me ask you the toughest question, though. Right now, as it sets, is this a playoff team?
I think it's got the opportunity. I don't think I don't think it's guaranteed. We got to fight hard, and I'm sure the Cardinals, Mike Matheny, and the whole ownership of the Cardinals are going to say, what can we do to keep it going?
Well, Senator, thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Scott.
We'll be right back with Representative Tracy McCreery joins the Opinion Maker panel after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
At Ameren, Missouri, we know what light can do. It draws people together and chases monsters away. And if you shine it in the right direction, it will light the path for the next generation, showing them what their tomorrow could look like and spotlighting the possibilities that lay in front of them. Investing in our community by lighting the way forward. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics. Opinion Maker panel time, starting with Dave Cook, the head of UFCW. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Great to be here.
Representative Tracy McCreery, friend of the show. Welcome back.
Thanks.
First time on the show, Tom Robbins, a governmental consultant extraordinaire, as it's known, lobbyist.
Thanks for having me.
Representative Nate Walker, the man of stone from Northeast Missouri, a state representative running for state senate. Sir, I tell you what, you were one of the folks that had nerves of steel from the beginning and a kind of a unique set of judgment on the situation in the governor's office. Now there's a new governor, Mike Parson. First week on the job, he really hit the ground running. Tell me what your observations were.
Well, thank you, Scott. I was down to the Lieutenant Governor's office last week before he was actually sworn in, and it was pretty amazing because in about a 3-day period, they were setting up and doing transition in a way that was unbelievable. I also experienced transition in other races before, and you know, the past governor, he had like almost 2 months to do transition and everything else. But I was very pleased to see how alert and how busy the new governor was, governor-elect was, or not governor-elect, but appointed governor. And then this week, I think he's really showed some really strong signs, reaching out and meeting with metropolitan people, with rural people, and his appointments. He's kept some really good staff people from the administration, but he's also brought in some real seasoned veterans that I think bipartisanly are well respected. And I think his legislative pick to run his legislative part in the office is going to be helpful. True. And Representative Offerman is a friend of mine. We were members of the Bow Tie Caucus this year, so I'm like the only one left in the Bow Tie Caucus on the Republican side. But I think he's really done a good job of reaching out and getting seasoned political and people that understand state government, and that's what we really need right now.
Dave Cook, speaking of the Bow Tie Caucus, I was impressed. Sly James, a person that may have had a strained relationship with the governor, wildly popular, really as a mayor with a statewide profile almost. Steve Stenger, very popular county executive in St. Louis County, leading a group of people that I saw in there. That is a room I never saw that photograph with the previous administration.
I don't think he would have. I look forward to this change. I think Missouri needed this change. You know, I have not always agreed with the positions of our new governor. Sure. Having said that, what I have found him to be is a true consummate professional and open to dialogue. He's chaired committees that had bills that I was vehemently opposed to. He allowed me to speak. He allowed my people to speak. He conducted himself with professionalism. He did that as he chaired the Senate this year. We don't have to always agree in politics. We're not going to always agree in politics. But to be able to conduct yourself in a way that both sides have a voice and can express their concerns, that's what governance should be. The past governor had an agenda when he came in. He is closed-minded. He wasn't open to anybody's ideas. This is what happens. It's bad government. Bad government for Missouri is not good for anybody. So I look forward to this. As I said, I don't think myself and the governor are going to agree on everything. I do look forward to sitting down with him, opening dialogue, and seeing where we can talk and work out our differences and find a common ground for the betterment of Missouri. Because truly, I believe the people on the R's or the D's or urban or rural all want one thing. They want a better Missouri. You can't do that if you're not talking and communicating. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, speaking of your people, got to keep an eye on that Reichman guy. But I have to say, the tone he set, it looks like a guy who's a statesman getting to work. Whatever you think of it, your opinion, very different. No flashiness, not a lot of the Facebook stuff. It looked like a very different feel in that office.
Right. He's an authentic gentleman. I'm looking forward to working with him as well. I think he's off to a really good start. He has a meeting set up with the House Democratic Caucus. We're going to go to his office on Monday at 2 o'clock, so that's really exciting. I mean, that didn't happen in the previous administration, so I'm really looking forward to working with him moving forward. But I also think, you know, he's off to a good start, but I think he needs to continue down this path of cleaning up Jefferson City truly. I think that we're seeing a fresh start now, and I hope he continues down that path.
I think that's the sense of his statement. I assume it's possible you might not support him to be elected in 2020.
Correct.
But you can work with him on things. I mean, to me, that's where the statesman part comes in, where you can have that meeting Monday, but you're knowing you're probably going to be on different sides in the end.
But not on all issues. What people don't realize is elected officials like us, we vote across party lines probably 70% of the time because most things are just good public policy. They're not controversial.
I thought it was a classy gesture to offer the Greitens cabinet, which was confirmed by the Senate, which I think means something to the new governor, the chance to stay and earn their spurs with him. But he brought in some senior staff that I think you may know. Aaron Willard, the new chief of staff, roundly praised. Robert Nodell, one of the most quality individuals in Missouri politics. I think those staff hires may be an indicator of what he intends to do.
Absolutely. Aaron Willard, I met with members of both parties, both chambers, and they all said, Aaron Willard, what a great pick. So, and then Robert Nodell, he's like the Nike of Missouri Republican politics. Yeah. I mean, where you can't go wrong with him. And then one other thing is, Parson shows a lot of wisdom in his ability to distinguish between the good eggs and the bad eggs from the previous administration. And so a lot of credit to him for that. I
agree with that. Let's talk about a race that did happen this week. It was hard to know it was such a big race, hard to know what the top topic should be. Now Senator-elect Lauren Arthur, very competitive district, held by Ryan Sylvia, Republican, before that Senator Ridgway. Lauren Arthur wins a large victory and an equality person that you've served with. Tell us about the victory.
Well, it's a huge victory. I think that it shows how hard Lauren worked and her team of volunteers worked. But I think Senator-elect Arthur's victory, it was nearly a 60-40 victory on Tuesday night. I think that does not bode well for Republicans in the fall. So I think that it was a huge turnout for a special election, and I think it's going to be a good November for Democrats on the ballot.
Hey, Cook, first of all, I think this is a good candidate. They ran a good race and a good person.
Yep.
And I think the Senate may be better for having someone of her class and integrity in it. Tell us why did she win? Might be the bigger question.
Two things. First of all, I'll tell you why she won. I think Missourians voted for change because there was a lot of frustration in 2016. I don't think they liked what the Democratic Party was representing. I think it's caused them to refocus the Democratic Party. But I'll also tell you, I think Missouri voters didn't get what they thought they were voting for. The change they were looking for is not the change they wanted. The attack on middle-class workers across the state line, that's not what they were voting for. I will say congratulations to Senator-elect. And we all know at this table, she has extremely large shoes to fill.
Two questions for you. You're one of the most active labor leaders in the state. Clay County is a swing county, ultimate swing county, 55% Jason Kander, 52% Donald Trump. They're right by each other on the ballot. Senator Sylvie, an outspoken moderate. Labor. UAW members, Clay Como plants in that district. Labor members, did this show them that voting Republican, they will come out? Were they angry about labor? That's one of the things I heard. I went to both camps and talked to folks. And if they are angry, will labor folks remember in August to vote in November?
I think they will. And here's the one fear I have. If you're a Republican right now, I would be very, very, very concerned. The problem is we have some friendly Republicans. I don't want to make any bones about that.
Yeah, Kevin Corlow's one of them.
I had breakfast before this today with a very dear friend of labor, Becky Ruth from Jefferson County. She's going to have a heck of a race because she has an R by her name. And that's unfortunate because we do have friends there. But I hope this is a wake-up call to the R's on the other side that, you know what, your social policies are fine, your guns and the other issues, that's fine. Stop the attack on workers. Let's start moving Missouri forward with better wages, better jobs.
Representative, you served with Kevin Corlow. It's my opinion. I always like covering serious legislators. He's a serious guy, takes on serious things. It looked like he was in a spot where it was going to be nearly impossible to win with all the headwinds he had. I think his better days are still ahead of him in politics.
Oh, yes. Kevin, Representative Corlow was very responsible for getting transportation brought to the forefront this session. And he sits right across the aisle from me, and I work with him on lots of things. We don't always agree on all the issues, but he ran against a very qualified opponent, and I like Representative Lauren, and so I think she's going to bring a different view to the Senate, and I think sometimes change is going to happen, but I think there was a lot of things working against the Republicans in this race.
If you're Senator Curls or Walsh, you're like, oh my gosh, a young person that can stand up for a long time.
That's right.
Take a lot of floor time.
That's right.
That's good. Tom Robbins, if you're watching this race, ultimate swing county, Clay County, Ryan Sylvie won, but he was a great politician. A lot of headwinds. Does this tell you those same headwinds could be brought to bear on Republicans in November?
Perhaps. I don't want to overstate its effect, but I do want to congratulate Senator Lauren Arthur. It has a nice ring to it. Representative Corlew is a great candidate, is a great ally, especially in a lot of the tort reform issues we work on together, but very happy for Senator Arthur. I don't want to overstate, it's a Democrat. It's a lean Democrat district.
20 points, though, so you may not, that's not really overstating.
Well, 5 months is a lifetime in politics.
Let's talk about issues. The governor, kind of a break with tradition, signed 77 bills. Governor Grimes, his last day in office. Give me one of those bills you think will help Missourians.
Well, he signed several bills. I think looking at the transportation, getting that on the ballot is important. One of the bills that he didn't sign, but I think Governor Parson will sign, is a joint bipartisan bill dealing with pensions. Senator Walsh was the vehicle for our House Pensions Committee to get 4 or 5 of our key priorities passed. And I worked with her, and that bill got across the table, and I'm looking forward to the new governor to signing that bill.
A piece of legislation that he signed, it was odd. They skipped all the bill review But it's law now. So give me one that works.
Senate Bill 564. It's the Rate Modernization Act. It's already lowering rates for utility payers. I know Representative McCreery is a big fan of it, but it also is an infrastructure job. It's going to create jobs for laborers, which I think is a big. It's obviously critical to the Missouri's economy.
Give me a bill you liked or didn't like.
I like the Rural Broadband Initiative bill. You know, it's critical that rural Missouri has the same access that I do here living in St. Louis County. It's a job creator, but it also is going to help with education as well. So it's a big deal. But now, you know, moving forward, we need to find money to really fund that rural broadband expansion.
Sure.
And they talked about the two I was going to talk about. Rural broadband, I think, is very important. But I also think getting infrastructure in front of the voters is paramount. Our roads are crumbling. We need to fund that. Let the voters decide, and I think they'll do the right thing.
Give me, Dave, while we got you here. The Republican General Assembly moved the right to work vote to August. I've not heard labor people be daunted by that move.
Oh, it doesn't matter. This bill is going to go down in a flame of disarray. It's not good for Missouri, and they moved it for one simple reason. They didn't want the base to turn out in November. You brought it up earlier. Our base isn't going to forget who did this to them.
Tom Robbins, does that affect things in November, from August to November, substantially?
I don't know that it does. I think that the labor obsession is it's played. You know, I mean, I think that whether it passes or doesn't pass is going to have less effect than either side thinks it will.
Representative, with a minute left, who won the week?
Well, I think Governor Parson won the week. I think Representative Arthur also probably won the week on her side. But the governor has really started out his first week very strong, and I think he won the week.
Who won the week?
Missourians, they're paying less in utility bills. They're looking at more jobs. They have a governor that has returned decency and statesmanship to the governor's mansion.
Who won the week?
Senator-elect Lauren Arthur.
Who won the week?
Missouri Senate as a whole. As we get closer to majorities and away from supermajorities, I think you can govern better. So I think the Missouri Senate would have won the week.
Representative, you have came on this show many times after Democrat losses and borne that burden. It's nice to see you get to have a win. I'll tell you somebody else. A guy's put a lot of miles on his vehicle the last year is Stephen Weber, the new head of the Democrat Party. One of his signature wins. Good. It's always nice to see somebody that works as hard as he does have a good week. Yep. I'll say him and hope that you'll win next week by joining us on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Brought to you by SPIRE, the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, and Sterling Bank.